First of all, my name is Jessica Hart, and I am in marketing at We All Grow. And happy Latinx and Hispanic Heritage Month also to everyone. I know we celebrate ourselves every day, but at least, we have this month so that everyone else can really understand the importance of us and highlight us. And hopefully that changes to more often than not. But we're happy to have you here at the second day, I think it is. Yep, second day. We are joined by Olivia Owens, who is the creator and general manager of iFund Women of Color, which is today's partner for this workshop. We're also joined alongside Kimberly Bueno Schoenig, who will be moderating the chat and applying any resources you may need from iFund Women and just giving you all the tips and tricks. iFund Women is the go-to funding resource focused on crowdfunding for diverse early stage entrepreneurs. And together we bring you how to crowdfund, a complete guide on raising capital using crowdfunding for your Latina-owned small business. The goal of this workshop is to encourage and support you in your journey of raising capital for your small business through education on crowdfunding and the resource that is iFund Women. So thank you again so much, everyone, for being here. And I will now give Olivia the floor to give us her magic.
Amazing. Thank you for a very, very warm welcome. Super excited to be here and really pull back the curtain on crowdfunding. I'm going to set the stage that I'm about to drop a lot of information on you. Don't feel like you need to memorize it. Don't feel like you're not going to be able to ask questions. There will be plenty of time for questions, plenty of time to figure out how you can apply this for your business. But I really want to give you the bigger picture of crowdfunding so you can start looking at it through the lens of your business. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and jump right into it. All right, so as Jessica so nicely mentioned, iFund Women is the go-to funding marketplace for women-owned businesses and the people who want to support them with access to capital, coaching, and connections. So we support our entrepreneurs with our online fundraising platform, aka crowdfunding, expert business coaching. We do free workshops throughout the week. Right now, we have a really awesome program running with Squarespace, where they're bringing in Squarespace experts to teach topics on building a digital presence, building your website, all of those things. So those are free to access. And then we also have a paid coaching platform where you can work one-on-one with experts on demand to answer all of the questions that come along with running your early stage business. And then we also have a community where you're able to connect with the other entrepreneurs in our community. So ultimately, the problem that we set out to solve is that women only receive 2.3% of the VC dollars invested. And for Latinx and Black-led startups, that's only 0.64%. So we're working with really small numbers, but the other statistic that I like to throw out here is that only 1% of founders, regardless of their gender, raise venture capital. And yet it feels like it's the only story that's really told out there. And so when we look at the funding options that exist, you're definitely familiar with all of these, but we know that many entrepreneurs start with self-funding, putting your own money to the business to get it off the ground. And we firmly believe that you shouldn't go into debt funding the earliest days of your startup. We love grants at iFund Women. Another way we provide access to capital is by providing grants with partners like Visa, American Express, Adidas, Unilever, to drive capital into the hands of women entrepreneurs. But we also know that grants are pretty competitive and oftentimes they're looking for a certain level of traction. And there's always that question, what comes first, the funding or the product or service? And that's what we're going to talk about here today. There are small business loans. Typically, that's something that you'd explore a little later down the line in your business, again, once you've proved out that demand, and that's where crowdfunding comes into play. And then last but not least, equity investors. And as we just discussed on the last slide, that's not really an option for many of us, but if you do want to go that route, it's about figuring out, well, what's the long-term vision that I have for my business? Is this something that I want to launch and continue to run and grow years and years down the line, or am I looking to quickly grow and scale and make an exit? And based on that answer, you really get to figure out which funding options make the most sense for you. And we see crowdfunding as the first stop on your funding journey. So what is crowdfunding? Crowdfunding is when you raise small increments of money from lots of people that you know that adds up to just enough money to achieve a specific goal. And by a specific goal, I don't just mean a dollar amount. Crowdfunding isn't a tool that's going to help you fund the next 5 years of your business, but it can help you get over the obstacle that's in front of you right now. And so what I would love for you to do throughout this workshop is really think about, well, what's that obstacle that I could maybe leverage crowdfunding for? And based on that, then the dollar amount that you select needs to be the minimum you need to make that happen. And so I'm going to take you through some examples of campaigns on the platform so you can get a sense of how are people leveraging crowdfunding, why are they using it, how does this actually come to life. And so this first example is Shannon Maldonado. Shannon is a founder based in Philly, and Yowie is a retail space where they do a lot of fun art, ceramics, home styling, objects and all of that fun stuff. And she came to iFund Women in the midst of the pandemic and shared that she'd been thinking about this concept of dynamic retail, a place where you can shop, stay, collaborate, all in one. And she knows that that's going to be a massive undertaking and will take a lot of capital. But she also knew that the first thing she needed to do was make the first hire towards designing and concepting what the space would be. And then also simultaneously, she needed to prove that her audience actually wanted this dynamic space before she went into building it. And so she set out to raise $75K, which was the first year cost she would incur for making that hire. And then she put it out to the community that she spent the last 4 years building and said, hey, this is my vision of where I want to take this business. And I have all these different rewards that you can buy, and in exchange, you'll be helping me bring this vision to life. And you'll see she was able to raise from nearly 750 funders. And that's really a testament to the community that she built up ahead of launching the campaign. But really the underlying theme that you're going to see is that it all boils down to proving demand before you invest in supply. This next example is Hold Debt. Hold Debt is a clothing brand. So if you have a fashion business and you want to manufacture your first line, but there's a minimum order quantity, let's say it's 25K, like it was for Hold Debt, she decided to pre-sell her suits through the crowdfunding campaign. One of the beauties of crowdfunding is it relinquishes that desire for instant gratification. It's not Amazon 2-day Prime. People know when they're investing in a crowdfunding campaign, they're investing in the future of a thing happening. So she was able to pre-sell the suits through the campaign, raise that 25K she needed to actually manufacture the product. And then once she had it in hand, shipped it out to her funders. And this is really the most traditional version of crowdfunding, pre-selling your product. This next example is driving sales and marketing. So you can really start to think of crowdfunding as a marketing campaign for your business. So over the next 30 to 45 days, all of your marketing is going to be around the campaign, and all of your calls to actions will be focused on funding the campaign. And so this particular example, Shy Talent Management, in the pandemic, she was let go from her agency, but she had been thinking about going out on her own anyway. And so this was an opportunity. She was like, what are my first year costs of business? 30K. I need to get it out there that I'm going out on my own to all of my contacts that I've worked with before, to all the people who've been following me along my journey. They need to know that I'm going out so that they can be some of my first clients. But on top of it, it allowed the people who weren't necessarily in the target audience for her business to support her in some way. So she was able to offer rewards outside of what her traditional business offerings were, to provide things that added value to the other people in her network who didn't necessarily need her agency services. So crowdfunding gives you the flexibility to reach your entire network, not just your target customer. This next example is building buzz and awareness. So the fact that you're crowdfunding in itself isn't necessarily press worthy, but it is something that you can leverage through securing press. And so what I mean by that is if you reach out to a journalist and say, hey, I'm running a crowdfunding campaign on iFund Women, here's a story, they're going to be like, well, that isn't a story. but there are opportunities for you to tap into conversations that are already happening. So for example, Bella crowdfunded near the beginning of the pandemic when it was the first time that people had to be at home with their kids 24/7. And so there were a ton of stories being written, and she pitched herself for an activity that parents could do with their kids at home to keep them occupied, and it's a healthy option. And so that's how she positioned herself inside of the conversations that were already happening. Another piece of it is, as Jessica mentioned, it's Hispanic Heritage Month. Journalists are looking for stories to write that tie into this month, and so you're able to plug your crowdfunding campaign into the broader story about whatever story is being told about Latinx Hispanic founders this month. Position yourself as a leader in that space, and then tie in your crowdfunding campaign, put the plug that I'm currently crowdfunding on iFund Women, and then they can link out to that from the press. This next example is raising a pre-seed round. So Ethel's Club is a co-working space based in Brooklyn for people of color. And she needed definitely more than 25K to open the space, but she needed to, once again, prove out that people actually wanted it. And so she pre-sold memberships to the space through the crowdfunding campaign, raised the initial 25K, and she simultaneously built up a 4,300 person wait list. So she built 2 sets of demand, and then went to investors and went and pitched them and said, hey, I was able to raise 25K from 283 funders. I was able to build a wait list of 4,300 potential members. I need additional capital to really bring this to life, but I've built out the proof of demand. And she went on to raise $1 million seed round with investors like Roxane Gay. So again, when we think about that funding journey, it's how are you leveraging a bunch of different funding options to help you get to where you're looking to go, and what does that first step look like? In this last example, one of the questions I often get is, are nonprofits able to crowdfund on iFund Women? And the answer is absolutely yes. Bridget has a nonprofit called G Code House, which is, she had this vision of a house where underprivileged women could come and stay, and then also learn coding skills to help them secure higher paying jobs in the job market. And so as a nonprofit, she couldn't go the investor route. And so she put it out to her community, her audience, and said, hey, this is what I'm looking to build. Will you fund it? And she was able to raise the 57K for that. So other than the fact that all of these women were successfully funded on iFund Women, what they have in common is that they did the prep work. One of the biggest mistakes we see entrepreneurs make when it comes to crowdfunding is they'll put a campaign up there, post it on social once, and then expect the magical money elves to come and help you raise the funding. The reality is the majority of the people who fund your campaign are people that you know, or people who've been exposed to your brand before. And so we've built out the iFund Women method, which are the 4 steps that we take entrepreneurs through in advance of launching their crowdfunding campaign. So the first step of that is your pitch honing. And I'm actually going to move over to our crowdfunding playbook. Let's see if I can get it to share. Here we go. So this is a iFund Women Method Playbook. Kimberly will drop the link to this in the chat. It's a free tool. If you want to make your own copy, just go to File at the top, make a copy, make it your business name, and then it's something that you can edit and customize for yourself. But this really becomes your playbook for building your crowdfunding campaign. There's so many different tools in here that'll help you really build out the different components. And that first piece is your pitch. Getting really clear on your messaging around the problem that you're solving and how your product or service solves that problem. It is very often when I ask an entrepreneur what their business is, and they'll start with, well, 5 years ago, I was here and I had this problem, and it'll be a minute in and I still don't know what their business is. And your pitch is not the place to bury the lead. And so the beauty of this template is it gives you the structure that you want to use in your pitch. pitch. You want to have that 15-second elevator up top, pitch up top, so people know they have a frame of reference of what you're talking about. You want to dig into the problem, because some of the people that you're talking to understand the problem that you're solving, some people don't. So you want to make sure everybody's on the same page. Then you really want to highlight the 3 ways that your product or service is addressing that problem. And then you want to talk about who your target customers are. For iFund Women, we have our pitch in here as an example. It's the 111 million or 163 million women entrepreneurs globally and 13 million here in the US. That's who we're looking to serve. And then explain why you are uniquely qualified to start and run this business. And I think this is a piece where I see entrepreneurs get a little nervous, because if you're stepping into an industry where you maybe haven't been before, it's like, well, why would I be qualified? But so often we are our own customers, and that's enough. I experienced these pain points myself. I was a mom who struggled with getting my kids back and forth to school. And so I was able to understand the unique pain points and create a solution that addressed those directly. That's enough. And then the beauty of this is crowdfunding campaigns also have a video component to them, and so this doubles as your video script template. So this is the script that you're going to use when you sit down and record yourself talking about the campaign, and it should be no more than 2 to 3 minutes when you read it out. So the first piece is the pitch. The second piece is your network mapping. So I talked about how the majority of the people who contribute to your campaign are going to be people that you know. I think oftentimes our network is something that just lives in our head. It's this very cerebral thing. And so this exercise forces you to put pen to paper on what really is the size of your network. How many people are you connected to? How many people can you reach? Over here on the left side, you can fill in your different sales channels. How many contacts do you have in your phone? How many people are in your email database? How many people follow you on social? And then it converts from you based on your larger reach. Here's realistically how many people you could get to contribute to the campaign. And then you want to actually go through the exercise of writing those people's names down. This is your roadmap for where the funding is going to come from. And then it also helps you get an understanding of what are the different buckets of your network, from your friends and family to your professional network to your existing customer base to your leads to the communities that you're a part of. And once you have a clear understanding of that, then you can build your reward strategy. So one of the things that I really want to highlight is iFund Women is a rewards-based crowdfunding platform. So you are selling your products, services, content, experiences in exchange for cash for your business. This is not charity or donation. They are getting something. They're giving you cash for your business, and you are providing something back to them in exchange. And I think the reward strategy is a piece that trips a lot of people up, but honestly, it's the easiest part. First of all, we have so many campaigns on our platform that you can take a look and figure out how you can customize some of those rewards for your campaign. But ultimately, it's an exercise in figuring out what are the different things that I can monetize that I'm not yet monetizing? What are the things that your friends are always asking you for? Do they always come to you for help with their pitch? Do they always come to you for help with figuring out how to build a revenue model? Do they always come to you for help figuring out their next season's closet? Whatever it is that is your superpower that people know you for, monetize that, sell that. And then sell the things that are going to be that beta test for either a new product launch. Maybe you're testing out a subscription service and you want to onboard your first 30 members you're going to test the subscription service with. They can only sign up through the campaign at this price point. In the future, the price point will be higher, whatever it is, to motivate them and see, is a subscription service something that my audience actually wants? If it's not something that sells on the campaign, then it's probably something you don't need to spend a ton of time or money and bring to life. And so you want to have rewards all at different price points. We recommend about 6 to 8. You don't want to have rewards at competing price points, because you want people, if they know they want to spend $75 in your campaign, give them the one thing they can spend $75 on, instead of that cereal aisle moment of trying to figure out, well, which cereal do I want this week? And then you also want to make sure your lowest reward isn't $100, because people will think you don't want anything less than that, which absolutely isn't true. You also want to make sure your highest reward isn't $100, because people are going to think you don't want anything more than that, which absolutely isn't true. So you definitely want to cover from end to end the different price points that people can come in at. And then really the last piece of this is your marketing strategy. So it can take 6 to 7 touches to get somebody to convert. And so part of the strategy that you want to do in advance of launching the campaign is figure out what those 6 to 7 touches are going to be. You're going to be posting on social, you're going to be doing email marketing, but you're also going to be doing one-to-one outreach. And so we went through the exercise of defining the different buckets of your network. Then you want to define what's their motivation going to be for supporting the campaign. We are in a time where we expect the messages that come to us to be hyper relevant. As annoying, scary, freaky as it is that you can be in a conversation and then the product shows up in your ads like moments later, it also means you didn't have to go searching for that thing. And that's the expectation that we built in our head. So how can you make your campaign most relevant to the different buckets of your network? So when you're talking to your family and friends, it's like, you guys have watched me put so much work into this business. To date, we've been able to do X, Y, Z. Now we're crowdfunding to take it to the next level. Your support would mean so much. For your existing customer base, it's you all have been such loyal customers and a true part of building this business, and we're all about community, and that's why we're taking a community approach to funding this business. And we also have some really great rewards that we think you all will get excited about. To your professional network, it's, you all know me as an entrepreneur. This is a grind, it's a hustle. And you also know that I'm a master pitch expert, and I'm actually selling one-on-one time with me. I usually don't do this, but you can buy it through my campaign. All of those different things are ultimately the same call to action, but you've just framed it in a way that's relevant to that, to the component of your network that you're speaking to. And that's really the purpose of this, to figure out what you're going to say to these people to get them to contribute.
And then also, Olivia, I want to add, I was listening to a podcast the other day, actually, and they said that your community can also be the leverage to find other people that might be interested. Maybe your direct network isn't exactly the people that might support your campaign, but they might know someone, their boss, their aunt or uncle that might also. So you can also approach it in a way of, maybe they're not the ones that actually will be supporting it, but do you know anyone that might be interested in this? Or, does your circle have anything? So I just noted that when you said that.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think that's the definition of pivoting your way to a yes. So first you go out with the monetary ask and they come back and they say, well, no, actually, I can't support right now. Then you want to circle back and say, totally understand. Actually, it would be amazing if you could put my campaign in front of 3 people in your network that I don't know. Exposure is another way to really drive this for me, and that would mean so much. It gives them a win. It gives them an opportunity to support you, even if they couldn't. It gives you a win because that is something that you need. So definitely spot on there, Jessica. Awesome. All right, I'm going to jump back to the presentation. So we also know it's about more than just the funding. So while about 71% of women say the lack of access to capital as a top challenge in launching and growing their businesses, about 50% say the lack of access to mentors. And then about 31% say the lack of access to a support system. And so that's really why at iFund Women, we've created a holistic approach to fundraising. We have the crowdfunding and the grants, but we also know that maybe you don't know how to write a grant application, or maybe you're really struggling with your pitch and you need some outside perspective, or maybe you're struggling with figuring out how to monetize your business. Being able to get access to experts who have been there, done that, to cut through the red tape and really work with you to figure that out. That's why we built out a coaching platform. We also offer creative services. So for that video for your campaign, we have video services. I think the video is only $1,500 and it can double as an evergreen video asset for your business. So if you're in a place to make that investment, it definitely is something that you can continue to leverage above and beyond the campaign. And then the support system. So the area of the business at iFund Women that I run is iFund Women of Color, which is our program dedicated to advancing BIPOC entrepreneurs. And I was the first hired at iFund Women and have been coaching entrepreneurs on crowdfunding for the past 4 years, and definitely recognized a deeper hesitation to crowdfunding when coaching women of color. And we know what that stems from. Leveraging your network if you don't have a network makes crowdfunding an inaccessible tool. And then the other side of it is there's a whole lot of vulnerability that goes into crowdfunding. It flips everything we've been taught on its head. It's not like, hey, like work really hard, grind it out, you'll be successful. This is asking you to put your vision out there and ask people to believe in it, and not just believe in it, but pay you for it. And so we took a look at the data in year 3 and recognized that while women of color represented 70% of the women in our community, they only represented about 30% of the funds being raised. And we see a similar disparity play out across other funding options. And we said, absolutely not on our watch. So we launched iFund Women of Color to create a space, a community, to build connections, to do some peer-to-peer coaching to support each other. And then also to have those hard conversations about, like, it makes me really uncomfortable to ask for money, but also be able to connect with women who look like you, who have been there, done that, and can be your cheerleader and be that proof, that representation that you need to believe that you can do it for yourself. So I'm quickly gonna run through some double click on some points and also share some additional best practices. So first and foremost, when it comes to honing your pitch, this is critical. The more confident you are in delivering your pitch, the more confident people are going to be in investing in you. So practice in the mirror, practice recording yourself on camera, practice on your friends and family, so that when you're giving that pitch, it flows and it has that confidence. The second piece is go through the exercise of mapping your network. This is the most critical piece of actually raising the funds. It's also the most tedious part of prep. And I'm super transparent about that. I like to say Netflix and network map, it is a mindless activity. So throw on your favorite show, just get those names into a spreadsheet or however you organize them. And like, it's gonna take time. So I would start that now, even if you don't think you're gonna, even if you're not gonna launch a crowdfunding campaign in the next couple of weeks, if you can start that work now, organizing your contacts into a way, maybe you use MailChimp and you want to start tagging your contacts by the different audiences, whatever it is, that's going to be critical for you in launching the campaign. Don't pick a funding goal out of thin air. We could all use $100,000 for our businesses, but again, what's the obstacle that's in front of you right now, and how much do you need to raise to get over that? Create compelling rewards. So I think immediately minds go to a t-shirt or a coffee mug, but really think about, what is your network going to get excited about? What are those different audiences going to want of value from you based on who you are, the products that you offer, the services that you offer, your expertise? Be legit. We often get asked, what's the minimum I need for my business to crowdfund? It's a website and social channels. People really want to see that you've done the work to take this idea out of your head, put pen to paper on it, build some type of digital presence. For number 6, definitely have a marketing strategy. We talked about those 6 to 7 touches and really figuring out what those are going to be, and understanding that, like, this is something that you can start marketing now. The first time people hear about your crowdfunding campaign shouldn't be when you launch. They should know that it's coming, so that you have people who have already had about 4 to 5 touches when you launch, so you have people to contribute on day 1. Invest in a professional video if you can. We know that video, people retain about 95% of the information they receive through video versus 10% through text. So we know that video really gets the information across. Lean into the resources. So Kimberly dropped the playbook. Definitely use that. We also have a free crowdfunding e-course where we go more in depth on each of the different components that I talked about today. So like I said, you don't have to have this memorized. There's an on-demand free learning way to kind of digest this information, and the playbook ties directly into that. Number 9 is make the ask. So the difference between the people who reach their goals versus who don't are the people who do are willing to make the ask. The one thing I can guarantee you in crowdfunding is you're going to hear no, but it's not about that. It's about how many yeses can you get to? How many people can you get your campaign in front of so that you can get as many yeses as you need to raise the funds you need? And then the last piece is don't go it alone. I love the We All Grow community. Anna and I have been kind of navigating in this space. She's been in it much longer than I have, but I was so happy to connect with her through the Caress partnership that we do. And building community is so core to launching a business these days, but it's also so core to your success as a business owner. It's a lonely road, and as much as you can create support systems for yourself. So for those days where you're like, I can't make the ask again, I've done it too many times, it's not working, you have people there to cheerlead you, remind you who you are and what you are capable of. And so if you want to be a part of iFund Women of Color, it's an application based, it's free to join, but there is an application. We want to make sure you have that website, that social presence, so you're ready to crowdfund. But Kimberly can drop the link to that application there. So I'm gonna stop sharing my screen and excited to jump into some Q&A. Ooh, we have a lot of time for Q&A too. I wanna say that if you wanna, like, definitely ask questions specific to your business. Even if your business isn't the same as somebody else in here, it helps jog people's energy around how they could use it. So let's get into it.
Olivia, first of all, thank you for that very insightful and very organized and really helpful way that you position iFund Women. I love the part where you said it's a holistic approach. It literally teaches you from start to finish to the middle, everything. So that's really appreciated. So thank you.
Thank you.
I don't see any questions in the chat. I see just some enthusiasm. Whoa, I love those stories. I love that you can bring those real true life stories, because I think it's important for people to see that it actually does, it can happen, like you said. Although you might feel like maybe you're getting a lot of no's at the beginning, it's possible. People have done it for various industries and reasons. So that's great that that resonated with them. And then just great information. Thanks so much for sharing this. If you guys have any questions, feel free to put it in the chat, and then we can either read them or we'll invite you to the floor, take your camera off and unmute yourself and ask questions. Or you know where to find Olivia and iFund Women to ask some more. Otherwise, I have some questions of my own that I can ask for our community if you're a little shy. Priscilla said, all amazing tips that make crowdfunding feel even more accessible. Thank you, Olivia. Yes.
Mission accomplished. Happy to hear that. I see Stephanie's question. No, the businesses do not have to be 100% women owned. We welcome men at iFund Women. So if you have a male co-founder, that's totally okay. We see male, female co-founders raised on our platform.
Do you have a certain, I'll ask this question because I just thought of it. Do you have any certain business industries that are more likely to crowdfund, or are there any that are, you know, not more successful, but just easier, like barrier to entry almost to that world?
Yeah, I mean, I think I believe the stat is we're 80% products, 20% services. And I think there's this misconception that service-based businesses aren't able to crowdfund because what could they offer as rewards? But we actually see service-based businesses do really well on our platform. It's just all about how you position it, that you can sell services through crowdfunding. But we are definitely all business sectors, from restaurants to mobile apps to membership communities to co-working spaces, all of it. It's more so the strategy that you put behind it, and also the strength of the community that you build behind your business.
Linda said, I joined a little later. Are we able to get your screenshots or PowerPoint slides of your presentation? Yes, Linda, we'll have a replay in the Amigas post after this that you can rewatch. And Olivia, if you do send them out, that would be awesome too.
Yeah, absolutely.
I have a couple other questions. Anyone else have any questions? You can drop it in the chat. We won't make you come on video if you're feeling shy. Otherwise, one of my questions was, when should a small business consider crowdfunding? Like, what is the journey to crowdfunding? Is there normally things they try beforehand? Like, when does your ideal person that joins iFund Women, what have they already tried, and where are they at in their journey, or what's best recommended?
Sure. So I'd say we see people from anywhere in their first year to their fifth year, honestly, depending. We firmly believe that it should be the first stop. Let's say you start doing meetups on Zoom with fellow moms, it starts to grow. You're building a larger audience. You've built up a following on Instagram, and now you've figured out, like, oh, well, I could monetize this by providing this product or service. I wonder if this is something that my community would want. Then you crowdfund to test it out, prove demand, see what price points they come in at, if this is what they want. And that's a reason to crowdfund. We see people do multiple crowdfunding campaigns. Lauren Beasley is a founder on our platform who she came to us the first time around, and I want to say she raised $15,000 for a summer dance camp for people with special needs in her hometown, Nashville. The campaign got funded really quickly. She ended up having a wait list for the camp. So then she came back and raised $100K to open up a full-time studio. And so crowdfunding is so malleable to your business needs. But I would definitely say the digital presence is critical, and some type of audience that you are speaking to and is following along this journey with you. Those are the campaigns that we typically see do larger raises.
Oh, there's another question. Is there a certain amount of revenue that my business should have to crowdfund?
Not at all. We see pre-revenue businesses crowdfund on iFund Women, and that's the first revenue that they always raise. I gave that example at the beginning. Sarah from Hold Debt, that 25K was the first revenue they ever had in the business.
Wow. That is amazing. Are there any specific Latina founded small business stories that you have that are your favorites or that stand out that might just resonate a little more with our community?
Yeah, definitely. There is Yosara Trujillo. She has a dance studio in the Bronx. She found a kind of desert where there weren't fitness studios available to the people in her community. And so she believe she raised something like $80,000 for her studio with the support of her community. I love that one. There is Elisa Molina, the founder of Covidosa. She has a brand where she's really trying to elevate women of color creators. And so she works with them to design products and push them out to audiences to help them get more visibility and more money for their designs. And actually, Anna will be on an IG Live with iFund Women, Elisa, and Mary Vet from the Mujerista next week on IG Live. So definitely tune in there to hear from some Latina entrepreneurs who have done it and can tell you the good, the bad, the ugly. So that's another kind of behind the scenes that you can get from it.
Yes. And I know the Mujerista also crowdfunding with you as well, right?
Yep, sure did.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
We have another question. How many crowdfunding campaigns do you recommend in a year and how long are each normally?
So to answer the first question, crowdfunding campaigns are typically about 30 to 45 days. I would say the campaigns that have raised over six figures were more along like the 3-month route. But it's all about, like, you started at 30 days and then you're like, great news, we've been able to extend it another week. We've extended another week, and it ends up all in all being about 3 months. And then in terms of how many you do in a year, I would probably not do more than one in a year, because regardless of what platform you're going to be on, it's you going to your network. And so your network is going to be kind of burnt out from hearing you talk about crowdfunding over and over again. So I would strategically try to place it no more than one per year.
Mhm. And focus it around, like you said, big launches or big initiatives that you're doing that can really make people feel like the incentive is there.
Exactly.
And I see, what is the difference between iFund Women and Indiegogo? I'm not sure.
Yeah, for sure. iFund Women, the main difference is the flexibility of our platform. So we don't have a hit your goal or you lose the money model. And we also don't lock you into your goal. We allow you to extend your campaign out. We allow you to introduce new rewards. The true problem that we set out to solve when we launched a crowdfunding platform for women is to meet our needs. Life happens. You may need to put your campaign on hold. You may figure out, okay, well, actually, I shot a little too high. I don't need 75K right now. 15K would get me to where I need. And like, that's a win. If you raise 15K, that's really hard and it shouldn't be reflected as a not hitting your goal moment. So we're really flexible on our end. We also reinvest 20% of our standard fees back into live campaigns on the platform. We have the community, the coaching to show you how to do it. So I would say our support system and our flexibility are the biggest differences.
And also what I love too is that you mentioned, like I said in the beginning, the holistic approach to it. I like how you even help with the pitch, because I know that's a huge, huge aspect that people are, where do I even start? How do I even say this? So even just having that as a support system is amazing. We have, other than social media platforms, can you recommend some ways to test community interest in your blossoming business? For example, I'm working to start a kombucha testing room / brewery in a small city.
So you're asking like, how can you start building community around that in advance of it actually existing?
I think ways to test community interest in your blossoming business. So see maybe like how you mentioned a little, is that even something that our community might want?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's one of the things that I coach a lot on is community building. And I think the best case scenario for you are like who are the lookalike audiences that already exist out there so that they've already done the work to bring the people together. It's just not competitive. Like you don't want to go to another kombucha group, but you want to go to maybe people who are really into health and fitness. And so kombucha is something where you can go in and say like, oh, I'm actually an expert in this. Here are the benefits. Here's how I infuse it into my day. Here's my kombucha self-care routine, whatever it is. And then draw people in with maybe like the top flavors for fall, or how you can infuse it into your diet, like a downloadable tool. And then to get the tool, they have to get on your email list, or maybe you want to create like a small little Facebook group of beta testers for before the space opens, where you get to share like, hey, this is the location that we're thinking. What do you think about this? Or these are the flavors that we're testing. Or maybe you invite people out to a tasting before the space actually exists. It's a pop-up tasting, that type of thing. So definitely many ways where you can test that out, but ultimately the best thing about building a community for your business before the product or service actually exists is the reality of business is you have to pivot. So if they're bought into the value of you and how you deliver things, when you pivot, they'll pivot with you, versus getting them bought into the product. And then when you have to pivot the product, where they're like, well, if the product's not going to exist, why am I here? So I would really focus on getting to understand those customers. What are their unique pain points? What are the topics that they're always talking about? Is it health? Is it fitness? Is it motherhood? And then building your community around those pain points that they have, and then show them how kombucha plays a role in that.
Another one, how does the mentoring work? Is it one-on-one or is there group mentoring like the workshops you mentioned?
Yes, so a couple different models. So the free workshops that we do throughout the week are grouped via Zoom like this. I Fund Women of Color. Once you're in the community, we do weekly sessions. We do a Monday member meetup where we do breakout rooms so you can meet other women in the community. We do an office hours where you can share wins, talk through obstacles, and in a setup similar to this, no presentation. And then through our coaching platform, we do one-on-one sessions. So you are able to book a topic and then you're connected with an expert on that topic. If you have a question about community building, you'll be connected with a community building expert. So it's not like you get one dedicated person, because we know that one person can't be an expert in everything, but it connects you with experts to just work through those problems. Like how often do you just come up against an issue and it's like, I'm having trouble figuring out which website platform I should build? Book a building your first website call, talk it through with somebody, get your next steps, keep it moving. That's how our coaching platform works.
Amazing. Linda asked a question, but she had to go. I think she already left. But she said my story is a little different than most. I took over a niche cake decorating supply shop that has been around almost 50 years. She revamped it, modernized it, new logo, bright color scheme, everything, new social media, website. And they thought that they were going to go into the best year when COVID hit. So she's managed to stay open and keep going, but they have a small business loan to pay back and appear to be getting back on track, but haven't really paid myself in a year. My goal is to keep my employees, make payroll for them. I need some mentoring, funding, and website help. Many shops like mine closed down and went out of business. So feeling blessed that I survived. Now I would like to thrive again. So this
Yeah, I think we can definitely resonate with that. And we saw so many businesses throughout the pandemic turn to crowdfunding as honestly, a crisis funding option. It's like, hey, if you, the community, want to see us still exist, we need X amount of dollars to do that. And here's the way that you can support us. So hopefully Linda can get that insight, but we definitely have examples of businesses doing that on our platform because it's the quickest access to capital. The funds hit your account like within 1 to 2 business days of people funding it. And it's you're not getting away ownership of your business or anything like that. So if she needs to turn around and do a crowdfunding campaign to cover the costs, that's definitely something that's possible.
Yeah, and I think especially during COVID, even though people were obviously struggling themselves, you saw that a lot of people were still really giving. So people were still donating, people were still trying to help, like eating out to help small businesses or, whatever it might be, shopping local, shopping small. And especially as a Latina owned business, I think it'll also be just like an upper hand also. I saw a stat, we were working on a campaign and I think it was like between 40 and 50% of Latino owned small businesses went out of business during COVID. And so it's like, leveraging that and just the fact that people understand that people are going through a hard time is, will be helpful with this too, and using crowdfunding.
Exactly.
I wanted to chime in and ask a question specific to grants.
Yeah.
I know for nonprofits, it's very specific, like how the money is going to be used, the budget, the line item in your budget, and oftentimes a lot of foundations require grantees to report on how the money was used. So with iFund Women, since most of your pool, I'm assuming, is for profit, what does the grant side of things look like on your end? And also, how much flexibility is there for founders to pivot, in the event of something, like COVID? What is the flexibility around that? And also, is there what type of reporting needs to be done after the crowdfunding campaign has closed?
Yeah, so sometimes the grants are tied into the crowdfunding, sometimes they're not. You don't necessarily have to crowdfund to be able to get a grant. And it also depends per program, basically per partner, on what type of reporting they want on how the funds were being used. For example, American Express did 125K grants for women on our platform, and they wanted to see how those funds were being used. And so it was reported, but that's not the requirement for every grant program on our platform. So it really just depends. But ultimately, yes, the grants can be for-profit or nonprofit on our platform. The stipulations just depend.
One of the questions I wanted to focus on was obviously there's a lot of tangible tips and tricks and things like that we can do for crowdfunding campaigns themselves. But what about some more like intrinsic, like motivational things that you can give? You mentioned vulnerability is like one of the biggest obstacles. Does iFund Women help, small business owners with that kind of stuff, like more, confidence boosting, or like the pitch, things like that are important also, because that's really what'll stem the approach that you give to your community and all that. So if there's anything like that you give top 3 tips, or what you guys work on in your workshops or mentoring, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I know at one point on our platform, there was a call titled Startup Founder Therapy Sesh, where literally it's just an opportunity for you to vent to somebody about all the different things, because your friends and family only want to hear it so much. So we're here to be that for you. But really, that's the goal with
that's the ultimate goal with I Fund Women of Color, creating that space where we can have those conversations, where we can be reminded that we're not crazy, we're not alone in this. This is a really hard thing that you're doing. But again, you're capable. And I think the most beautiful thing about crowdfunding is a lot of the work that you do is parallel to the work that you're doing to lay the foundation of your business anyway. And then on top of that, you're walking away with more than just the funding. You're walking away with the knowledge, the proof that you could do it. And I think that that is almost more important, because like once you have the funds, then it's about how am I going to best leverage this, how I'm going to make sure that I'm going to be able to stretch this to the extent that I need. And so I would also see crowdfunding as a confidence building exercise in itself for you as a business owner and what you're going to be able to do to push your business forward.
We have one more. Is I Fund Women a platform that can be used to fund a creative's time to work towards sitting down to write down and launch business? I think it's more like, do you help with like actually, because you said you do have some that haven't even had revenue, but you have to have, you mentioned like a website already and social media. So like, what are those criteria? And do you ever do things that you help like businesses that are just launching?
Yeah, like when we say a website, we don't mean a fully built out platform by any means, but just something to show that you've determined what this is going to look like, how it's going to come together. A splash page is perfectly fine. And I think that playbook, if you are in a place where you need to sit down and write out what this business is, that playbook is going to be your best friend. And figuring that out, the tools in there are really set up for you to think about all of the different core components of how this is going to come together. I'd probably start with the business canvas tab in there and start answering some of those questions to get pen to paper on what this business actually can be.
Love that. Well, if anyone has any other questions, I think I've answered all mine. Ayla, if you have any others. If you have any other questions, you can always, reach out to Olivia and I Fund Women. Is there anywhere that, Patricia said so helpful, very helpful and insightful. I even myself wasn't as well versed in crowdfunding, and you really made it seem so approachable and not so scary as maybe people might think. And especially just having your community there with you is amazing. So thank you. Kimberly dropped an email, so if you have any other additional questions, and obviously you can follow them on social media. I'll let you, Olivia, plug it all.
Yeah, definitely follow us at I Fund Women to stay in the know about all the different things that we have coming up, going on. Definitely apply to I Fund Women of Color. We would love to see you there. And then tune in next week as we have our IG Live with Anna, Maryvet, and Elisa. It should be a good one.
Yes, and I'm pretty sure we'll be posting about it on our social medias as well. So you'll be seeing it again, and I think maybe in Amigas as well. But other than that, Olivia, thank you so much for this workshop. It was so insightful and helpful, and everyone is just saying that it was just the best. So I know that everyone that didn't catch the live will watch the replay and have their comments as well, and reach out with anything. And just wanted to say thank you everyone for joining, and again, happy Latinx and Hispanic Heritage Month. I hope you have an amazing rest of your week and weekend, and we will see you all in Amigas and on our socials and with I Fund Women.
Amazing. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Thanks everyone.